So for today, I would like to take a look at gold as well as dollar index, right? So those are the main charts that we will be going through for today. We will also hop onto the economic calendar to take a look at the key events that are coming up. Okay, so on that note, let me just load the economic calendar, right? So usually for economic calendar, I'll use either Forex Factory or Vantage Markets, right? Either one. In this case, let's just take a look at the upcoming events, right? So I'll just change this to local time. And then filtered by the higher impact events, right? So these are the different impact of the economic releases. So generally, I take a look at the ones in red and orange, right? So the higher and medium impact. So this can be your GDP data, interest rate decision, as well as jobs data. Okay, and CPI as well. So CPI is closely watched, right? Because it gives a clue as to whether central banks are going to continue hiking rates. So if inflation continues to run high, right, that's when it's more pressure for the Fed or for central banks in general to raise rates. Okay, so you can see that coming up, we have the key data would be on dollar, as well as CPI flash estimate for Eurozone. Okay, so this would be the key ones that we have coming up. So let's take a look at gold. So before we take a look at gold, let's take a look at dollar index, right? So for dollar index, let's start from the higher time frame, right? So on the higher time frame on dollar index, you can see that prices are sitting on this. If you toggle between the monthly or weekly zone, there is this resistance turn support level here, right? So we saw how price reacted as a resistance, sharp move twice over here before the rejection and a clear break above this area. Oops. So this it's the view on the monthly picture, right? So if you go down to the weekly, or even before that, right? So if you have trouble trying to identify the zones, right, you can just take a look at it and close as well, right? So taking a look at it in line chart, you can see that if you draw a horizontal line across, right, it divides this chart very neatly as both the support and resistance. So price came in to tap it as both a support and resistance level here, right? And then if you take a look at the weekly time frame, you can see that on the weekly time frame, we have this resistance area. It was also the previous resistance turn support area. Let me just remove these indicators, right? So you can see this zone, right? So this was the previous resistance area. We saw how price came in, tested it as both a resistance and a support. Over here, right? So you saw how price reacted, coming into this zone, testing it as a support and then failing it and sitting on it as a resistance. Okay, so this it's on the weekly picture. And let's go down to the daily time frame. So on the daily time frame, right, we see that prices are currently testing this resistance area here. And it's reversing off this level, right? We previously noted that prices were also holding above an ascending trend line on the daily. So you can see that prices are forming a higher lows and higher highs. We marked out this as a support zone earlier. If we go on to the 4 hours time frame, right? So this earlier zones. So this was the previous resistance turn support area here. So again, right, we mark this out over here. And the reason why we mark this out is looking at how prices react over here, where it pushes up and following which there's this sharp rejection of this level, forming this high. And if we take a look at the previous market structures, you can see that there are, again, right, lower lows and lower highs that are being formed. And this is the last high. So if we take a look at market structure, in a downtrend, right, prices are likely to continue in a downtrend, and you see that the highs are not violated. So which means that if there is any change in trend, right, the break of the high that took out the last low, right, this is the first sign of a change in trend. So you can see here, right, on dollar index, right? So you have again, right, lower lows and lower highs. You can see subsequent lower lows and lower highs being formed. If I put it in close, you can see that the significant points here. Right, so if I put it in close, right, again, you can highlight the significant points, again, lower lows and lower highs being formed. So you can see that this is the last high, right, which price needs to break for confirmation of the trend on the 4 hours. So with that, right, price broke above this. So now this becomes a resistance turn support level. Again, just looking at how price interacted with this region, you saw how price tapped into this area again, right, before it continues to the upside. So right now where we are here on dollar index, right? So last week we highlighted this zone as well. This is the next support area. Again, just looking at how price interacted here, you see 2 resistance level before a clean break above. So this was the support level for us. How we found this Fibonacci retracement, this 50% that you see here. This is found by taking this whole move. So this is the most direct move and the pullback, right? So we did a Fibonacci retracement from this low to high, and you can see the 50% retracement lining up here. Okay, so yeah, so price actually came and pulled back into this demand area or support region before it continues to hit the supply area here. Okay, so this one, this was the zone, right? So you can see the support area. So apart from just highlighting this, right, we also have our Fibonacci extensions. So if you recall in Fibonacci extensions, right, Fibonacci extensions are zigzag patterns. So in this case, you can see that this is the zigzag pattern. And having found the zigzag pattern, what we did next is that we identified the 3 points. So we are using the 3 points, basically turning points, right, to project the extension levels. So with that, once you found the extension, you can see here, right, this is actually the 78.6 extension. So what this suggests is that we have 2 levels, right? So our Fibonacci confluence lining up here in the form of a 50% as well as, so this is the Fibonacci retracement and 78.6% is a Fibonacci extension. Okay, and then following which you can see what happened, right? So price pushed up, tap into the supply region. And right now it's just reversing below. So where we are right now, if we take a look at the most recent move, right? We have this, go back to the daily. So on the daily, we have this move here. So take a look at the high, right? So again, lower lows and lower highs. So if we see this area, right, if I put it just in the line chart, you can see again, right, where are the significant lows and highs. So I'll mark out those highs here, right? And then this one, price pullback. And right now we're seeing this move. So you can see that this is the last low that we have, right? Which price broke below. So if you notice this, right? So it's forming a downtrend, lower lows, lower highs. It came into this area, it swept the previous high. So you see that it swept this previous high before it continued to the downside. So this is a sweep, right? So price swept above this high before it continued to the downside. And you can see that it broke the last structure. This is the last low, and then price pulled down, broke below. And right now it's pulling back. So in terms of the daily area, right, the last leg that we have is actually this whole leg. So you can see that this is basically the last move. Okay, so price pushed down, and then we're seeing that pullback. So in terms of the area, right, we're currently in a resistance area on the daily time frame. This is on dollar index, right? Let's take a look at the 4 hours. So we're on the daily, right? On the 4 hours, you can see that it's still in a bullish market structure, right? How so? You can see subsequent higher lows and higher highs being formed. So again, right, just mark out the highs, mark out the lows, right? There isn't any clear lows here, right? We have this, and right now it's just developing this area here. Okay, so again, if you mark it out on the 4 hours time frame, you can see again, right, the significant points, right? There are clear highs and clear lows. So what we need right now is that if prices come into a demand area, right, it could push higher, and this will form your last structure. Okay, so right now on dollar index on the 4 hours, for me, still bullish. Right? You can see that just in terms of the structure. So let's take a look at where we are, right? And if there are any zones here. So you can see that this area itself on the 4 hours time frame, let me just remove all these markings. Okay, so on the 4 hours, right, we have this region. We also have the last leg. This is the push up and that pullback, right? So this leg itself, this is the lowest point and this is the highest point, you can see, right? So what we can do is that we can first highlight if there are any support zones within this region, right? So the most immediate support region or support area for me, right, within this region would be this area here. You can see this zone. This is on the 4 hours, right? So again, I'll just put it in a different color. Let's put it in blue. Okay, so again, support and resistance area, right? This is a pretty slight one, I would say. Rejection of this area, a break above it. Okay, rejection of this area, a break above it, and then following which a pullback into this zone, right? So right now we are at this region here, so resistance turn support level, and we're seeing a pullback into this area. So what we can do with this, right? Again, identify our move, right? So this is the lowest point, so we can take a Fibonacci retracement from this low to this high. So when we do that, right, let's take a look at this. So Fibonacci retracement of this move from low to high, again, right, we want to open this key level. So 61.8, 78.6. You can see that the 78.6 retracement lines up exactly with this blue region. So does this mean that we're going to see a reversal right here, right? So we wouldn't know, right? So let's go on to the smaller time frame. So right now we're on the 4 hours. So if you go on to the 15 minutes, you can see that where we are, there are no signs of reversal yet. You can see that prices are still continuing on the downside, again with subsequent lower lows and lower highs in a downtrend. So you can take note of it, right? Even if I were to put it in close, you can see subsequent lower lows and lower highs. So again, right, if there's any confirmation, we need price to form your new high and a break above the high for confirmation to the upside. Okay, so this is the picture on the 15 minutes, right, and the 4 hours. So you can see that with every pullback leg on the smaller time frame, it's actually a downtrend, right? Smaller time frame confirmation, right? So for that, you just need a break of to the upside for your lower time frame confirmation. Okay, so yeah, so this is the picture on dollar index right now, right? So I think that we could still see more upside here. Right now, again, right, for more confirmation, we need to wait for a change in structure on your lower time frame. So on your 15 minutes, it's still pretty bearish right now. Okay, so this is the view on dollar index, right? Let's take a look at another setup, which is on gold. So again, from a higher time frame first. So if you take a look at the picture on the weekly or the monthly, right? On the monthly picture, you can see that right now gold is sitting on this resistance area, right? So if I draw a horizontal line across, you can see that this area has been tested multiple times, right? And right now prices are approaching this level. If I put it in close, you can see this level as well, right? So price coming in, and then there's the sharp rejection of here once again over here, and again this region. Okay, so this is the picture on the monthly time frame. In terms of looking at support resistance area, right now where we are currently, right, I would say take the last candle, okay, but this is on the higher time frames, so the higher time frames region, right? Doesn't mean that we're taking any immediate positions of this level. Okay, so there's just something to consider, right? On the monthly, what you can also check on the monthly is if there are any resistance levels that line up here. So what we can do with this, right? This is the push down and using this pullback. So we can take a Fibonacci retracement of this move from low to high. From high to low, right? So you can see that when you take a retracement of this move from high to low, right, using this point, the 78.6 retracement is still slightly higher than the rejection that we're seeing here. So this is on the monthly, right? If you're on the weekly time frame, so for those of you guys who take a look at this candles, right, you can see that for this candles itself, generally I take a look at how prices interact within the zones of the candles. So if you take a look at this region, you can see that there's this sharp rejection here, right? So represented by the long wicks. So this area. So what this suggests is that at this zone, right, there are buyers that are coming in to push prices higher. Price came into this region again before it failed. So you can see that the candle that's still held within the wick. So this is the wick, and this is the last candle that's still held within that wick. So for me, this is the resistance area. Okay, so this is the resistance zone on the weekly. So again, right, once we find this resistance zone, we're trying to narrow it down into the smaller time frame zones where we're not taking any immediate positions of these levels. Okay, and we also have again a support region here, right? Again, how we identified the support region is just taking a look at how price interacted with this zone. You can see that price came in to test it as both a support and resistance, and even coming into this region, there's hesitation, right, in terms of dojis. You can see these candles, right? And a strong selling pressure, right? Basically, there's doji itself represents uncertainty. So you can see that coming into this zone, there is a lot of uncertainty between buyers and sellers, right? Some of the buyers are met with resistance before there's a break and a close to the upside for more upside confirmation. So right now, prices are again sitting on the support region here. This support region itself, right? You have the move up and that pullback, or the throwback, right? So in this case, we can use again a Fibonacci retracement of this move, taking the move from low to high here, right? So let's take a look at this move and see what it gives us. So when you take a retracement of this move from low to high, again, right, we're trying to see if there are any retracement levels that line up at this area. So you can see the 50% retracement. In this case, this lines up nicely at this zone that we've highlighted in blue. right? So this is the daily zone. So we have the 50% slightly lower. You can also check for your Fibonacci extension. So again, Fibonacci extensions are zigzag patterns. So in this case, this is the zigzag pattern, and you can take these 3 points. So the reversal points basically to project your extension. So when we do that, right, let's see what it gives us. So 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. Okay, so these are the key extension levels that I use, 61, 78.6, and 100. Sometimes it goes to 1.272, right? So the more common ones that I use. So in this case, you can see that the 78.6 extension, I'll put this in a different color, let's say in pink. So this level lines up exactly with the zigzag pattern and this area, right? Price came in, we saw a reaction of this zone as well. So this is the picture on the weekly. Let's take a look at the daily. So you can see on the daily, right? Prices broke. We have this descending channel. Oops. Okay, probably not so obvious on the daily time frame, but if we take a look at it on the 4 hours, so we have some kind of descending channel that's being formed in the form of lower lows and lower highs here. Okay, so this descending channel, again, for a channel to be valid, right, we need a tap of twice, right? So we need price to test resistance at least 2 times and support levels twice. Okay, so this area here, you can see that price broke above the descending channel that we have over here. If we take a look at market structure, right, on the 4 hours, right, again, taking a look at lower lows and lower highs, you can see that right now, this is the last high, right? So we have this high here, and then price form a new high, forming significantly lower lows, lower highs. This is your last low. Price broke below the last low, and right now we're in the pullback of this whole leg. So this is the last leg that we have, right? This whole range. So right now we're in the last leg of this zone, right? In terms of the first resistance area that we can find, you can see that it's actually this zone here, where prices are currently testing, right? So you can see this support area. So price coming in again, right? Long wicks. So let me just remove the rest of these markings. Right, so we zoom in on this part of the chart. So you can see here, right? So long wicks, right, representing buyers. So buyers coming in, push price slightly higher. Price came in, tap into this zone, broke below it, right? And right now it's a support and resistance area. So if you take a look at it in close, you can see the same thing as well. So price coming in, pushed slightly higher here before it broke below. Okay, so this for me is the resistance area that we have over here. In terms of the support region, right? Where's the support area? The support area is here. Again, right, looking at how price interacted with this zone as a support coming into this region again, breaking below it. And then right now you can see acknowledgement of this zone before it broke above, retested the support and continues higher. So this area for me, right, it's the support region, right? So these are the lower time frame zones, so on the 4 hours. So I'll just put this in a different color so that we can differentiate them. Okay, so we have this zone, right, on 4 hours. Right, you have your support and resistance areas. Okay, so what we want to do next is that we will try and find if there are any Fibonacci retracement that lines up with these zones. Okay, at the same time, if you guys have any questions, right, please feel free to put them under the questions chat, right? I'll have the Q&A box and chat box open. Okay, so in this case, right, we have this area. So what we're trying to find first, resistance for, Fibonacci retracement for resistance. So this is the move, this is the pullback. So if you're trying to find Fibonacci retracement for resistance, you want to use the high as your starting point and the low as your ending point. So let's do that and see what it gives us. So Fibonacci retracement from high to low. Right, so likewise, the key levels, you can see the 78.6 retracement sitting right on this level. That's one. And then the other one would be a retracement trying to find the support level, right? So we're trying to find if there are any Fibonacci retracement levels that line up with the support zone. So in this case, right, this is the push and the pullback. So when you use a Fibonacci retracement on this move from low to high, again, right, trying to find if there are any levels that line up with the zone. So again, I want to emphasize the importance of highlighting this zone, right? Because almost at every interval, you can see a Fibonacci retracement. So this is why it's important. Okay, I have a question, right? If dollar is low, so gold will be long going on. Yeah. Okay, so right now on Go, you can see that on the higher time frame, if you're on the monthly or weekly, right, it's actually sitting on the support area, this zone, this area here. Right, so on the higher time frame, it's on the weekly. If you're on the daily time frame, we are seeing this very bullish move here as well. So on the 4 hours, right now, right, there is no clear change in structure. There's a break of the last high. So I think this would be the support level that price could pull back to. Right, and if there's a break above this area, so this is basically the last high that we see that broke the low, right? So if price breaks above this, then there's more upside confirmation. Okay, so yeah, summit. So it's likely that price could push higher. So in this case, right, it's currently sitting on a resistance area over here, right? So you have a resistance area, you have a support, and you have a support level that's here. Okay, so on this support region itself, right, you can also check for this Fibonacci extension, which is basically a zigzag pattern, taking these 3 points, right? So when you take a look at the Fibonacci extension levels here, right, take a look at this 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. So again, right, looking at this extension, in this case, this is the 100%, right? So 100% extension lining up with this zone that we found. Okay, so currently Go right now, it's sitting on this level here, right? So if we do see any short-term pullback into this region, right, again, we need to see the reversal first happen. So if you're on the 4 hours time frame and if price does acknowledge this level, right, you'll first see that change in structure first on the 15 minutes. So is there any change right now? No, right? If you take a look at the highs and lows, you can see that with the most recent moves, right, prices are still forming your higher lows, higher highs. But take a look at it in close, right, you can see this highs and lows being marked out as well. So in this case, right, there's no change in structure yet. So what we're waiting for is a clear. So this is the last low. You can see that this is the last low that took out the high here. If you take a look at it in terms of structure as well, right? So this is the last structure, it broke the high. So which means that any pullback within this leg price could still continue higher. Okay. So unless price breaks below this zone, right, then we could see more downside or pullback, right? If not, right, I think price could continue higher as long as it holds above this region. Okay, so this is the picture on the 15 minutes, right, for more confirmation, right? Right now, right, if we do see a push down into the support zone, right, it's the same thing, right? So if price comes into this region, you'll see lower lows, lower highs being formed. For confirmation as to whether price respects this zone, right, we just need to wait for a change in structure. So this is the picture on the 15 minutes, right? If you're on the higher time frame, if you're on the daily or even the weekly, you can see that right now it's sitting on the support region, right? It's rejecting off this area. It also broke this descending channel or descending trend line that we have. So this area here. Okay, so I think we could see a retest of the support area, right? If we do, right? If not, price could just continue much higher from here, right? But if we do, you can see that even on the lower time frame, right, there's actually a clear breakout pullback of the zone. Right, this is actually drawn from the daily, right? This descending trend line. But if you take a look at the 15 minutes, you can see that there is a clear break and pullback of this area. So for me, this is the 15 minutes low, right? And there's also 15 minutes support. So you can see that this low itself, right, happened to coincide with the 15 minute support. So this is the area that we need to watch for a break below before price continue to a higher time frame support region, right? But overall direction first is still bullish. Okay, so this is the picture on Go right now, right? If you guys have any other setups, right, you're welcome to submit, right? So if you guys have any other setups, right, please feel free to put them under the chat. Okay, so these are the two setups for me, right? In terms of where we can take a look at it on the higher time frame. So on the higher time frame on Go right now, right, the most immediate resistance level we have would be this zone. So you can see that price coming in to test it as a support, push higher, sweep this area. So this level, if you take a look at support or demand areas, right, focusing on this portion of the chart. So price from the high, it broke above the high, price came in and it tested this zone as a demand, right, before it actually broke below. So if you take a look at it in line chart, you see the same thing as well. You see a high and a low. The low took out the high, right, and the price came in, tested, held below the low before it broke. So for me, this is the support area. It was the previous support area that was respected before price broke below it and it became a resistance. Okay, so this would be the picture on the daily. So if we do see a bullish move up, right, for me, right, this would be the higher time frames resistance, right? Of course, from where we are right now, this zone, right? So from where we are all the way to this region, right, there are many pullbacks, right? We could see many opportunities along the way, right? Also, it's important to manage our profits because price could always reverse below this region. Okay. Okay, I have another question. Right, okay. Germany 30 pound dollar, right? Let's take a look at that. Okay, so let's take a look at DAX and then pound dollar. Okay, let's see where we are, right? So on the higher time frame again, right? So right now you can see that prices are on the resistance area here, right? If you take a look at it on the monthly, if you take a look at it in close, you can see that it's currently sitting on this region. Let's go to the weekly time frame, right? So weekly time frame again, picture of higher high, higher lows being formed here. So you can see the last high, right? Probably not so much on the weekly, but the daily, right? So you can see that on the daily, there's a picture of higher lows, higher highs that's being formed right now. And let's focus on this portion of the chart, right? So let me just remove all this. All these areas. Okay, so you can see that right now on the daily, right, the most immediate support level that we have would be this region. Okay, so this again, resistance turn support level. I'll put this in a different color, but also what's important is that there's consolidation at this area. So you can see prices moving sideways, right? There's a lot of hesitation before it breaks above this range. So there's this range that we have over here before price broke above. If you take a look at it on the daily and close, you can see the same range, right? So price hesitating above before clear break and close above. So this is the picture on the daily, right? So the daily zone. Okay, so for me, right, the daily zone will be basically, you can take the last candle, right? So if you take a look at supply demand areas, right, it will be basically this candle. Okay, so it's just a zone to work with, but for me, right, you can see that this candle again, right, this is the wick. We have this wick here. Right, price came in, we saw that rejection, it held above the wick before it broke below, right? So this is the last resistance area for me, right? And you can see that price again hesitating here before it break and close above. Okay, so this for me is the resistance region, resistance turn support level after price tested this area. You can see that it came to test it as a support twice. Okay, so this is the picture on the daily. If you're on the 4 hours time frame, you can see that right now on the 4 hours. So this is where things get interesting. If you're on the 4 hours time frame, you can see the most recent structure. So price came into a resistance area, right? And then right now you're seeing again higher lows and higher highs. So on the 4 hours, right, you can see the most recent move. We have a high, we have a low, we have a newer high, a newer low, and a newer high. And then price broke below this low. Okay, you can see this area, right? So if I put it in close as well, we have this high, a new low, a new high, right? Subsequent high, and this is the last low that took out the high, and price broke below the structure. So for me, this on the 4 hours is bearish. Okay, so let me just remove this, right? So we have the daily zone, but you can see that right now, prices reacted to the daily zone and we're seeing a pullback. So over here, right, what we're trying to find is that we're trying to find if there are any resistance areas that prices are currently testing, right? And these are areas that we can potentially take shots from. So in this case, right, this is the resistance area. You can see that this zone here, right? Just looking at how price reacted with this area, right? We have this rejection of this level and then price continuously forming new lower lows. You have a descending trend line as well here, right? Or even a potential descending channel. Let's see. Okay, I'll put this in a different color. Let's put this in red, so that we can see. Right, so again, for a channel to be considered, we need a tap off for support and resistance at least twice. So in this case, right, this would be the channel. Okay, so you can see this area. Let me just remove the daily, right? So we're seeing a rejection of the daily zone. On the 4 hours, you can narrow it down to this area as well. So basically a rejection of this zone, right? So this daily area, right? Taking the most recent move here before that break. So in this case, you can see that we're currently in a descending channel, right? For a descending channel to be valid, we need taps of at least twice, right? Support and resistance, so we have that. So right now we're coming into a resistance area here. You can also check the Fibonacci retracement of this move, right? So in this case, this is not so ideal because for Fibonacci retracement, right, best practices, we want to see a direct move down instead of having price chopped around. So in this case, right, there's not much proper Fibonacci retracements we can take, right? But we have a Fibonacci extension, there are zigzag patterns, right? So you can see that in this case, this is one zigzag pattern. To project to see if there are any extension levels here, this is the other zigzag pattern. So let's see what it gives us, right? So I have the first zigzag pattern. Okay, so we have the 1.272 at this zone, right, at the high, basically, right? And then we have this other zigzag pattern. So this is the other zigzag pattern. So again, right, we're trying to take this extension level 0.1, 0.2, and 0.3. So in this case, you can see that this extension level is the 78.6 extension, still lying slightly above. So for me, this is the resistance area, right, to watch. If price comes into this zone, again, you're on a 4 hours time frame. So if you want confirmation, it can be down to the 15 minutes. You can see right now, right, pulling into this resistance. This is the 4 hours resistance. On the 15 minutes, right, if you take a look at the highs and lows, you can see again, clear higher lows and higher highs. So what this suggests is that it's still bullish. So if we want to wait for a change, right, if we want to see whether price actually respects this zone, you need to wait for a change in structure on the lower time frame. So 15 minutes right now is still bullish. Okay, but for me, this on the 4 hours, this is the higher time frame zone, right? So this resistance area, if price comes into this zone, right, we could see a reversal below this area, right, to the low here. So of course, along the way, we want to try and manage the positions as well. Okay, so I hope that answers your question further, right? And I have another question, right? Let's take a look at pound dollar and euro pound. Okay, so I'll just take 2 more and we'll call it a day for this, right? So pound dollar and euro pound, right? Let's take a look at pound dollar. So this was the previous zones that we've highlighted, right? So if you take a look at it on the higher time frame, so on the monthly, prices are sitting on the support turn resistance area, right? So how we noticed this, it came in as a support, broke below, right? You see it in, if you draw in line chart, right, there's this area where price came in, respected multiple times, and then right now we're seeing that rejection. This is the picture on the monthly. If you take a look at the weekly zone, you can see that right now we're seeing consolidation here, right? Prices forming a double top, but it's not a double top yet because for a double top to be confirmed, it needs a break of the neckline, right? So for any pullback itself, if you're on the lower time frame, right, you can see that if this is a double top, you need price to break below the neckline before it's considered. And one more thing is that prices should be in an uptrend, right, parallel trend, right? So this is fine, but we need a break of the neckline. So this is currently the resistance area, right? So we saw how price rejected off as a resistance twice coming into this zone, right? We are forming some kind of support, or prices are testing some kind of support region here, but you can see that the most recent moves, right, is still forming lower lows and lower highs. So this is the picture on the daily. Let's take a look at the 4 hours. So on the 4 hours time frame, right, we previously highlighted this resistance area, right? And again, how we highlighted this zone, that was the previous support and resistance area. You can see how price came in, tested it as a resistance, broke above it, right? Tested as a support before that break. So this for us was the resistance area. You can see that retest, right? Again, if you put it in line chart, right, you can see that there's this area that divides the chart very neatly as both a support and resistance. Okay, so this for us is the resistance area, and you can see that coming into this region, right? So we have this whole area here. If you take a look at the daily, on the daily, right, let me just remove the retracement because this is cutting into the picture, right? So in this case, you can see that this area, right, on the daily, we have this zone here. So if you follow through with the moves, we have demand, right? So this demand area, so price came in, right, and the extreme. So you see the wicks of these candles, right, which means that at every region, right, when price comes into the extreme of these candles, right, has been respected as a demand, right? So price coming into this region, price came in, tested as a demand, pushed higher, and then again, right, price came in, tested as a demand. You can see it here, and then it pushed higher, and then once again, right, created a new demand area here. Price came in, right, tested it, broke below this region before it continued on the upside. So in this case, right, for me, this is the last region as the demand, because if you have a demand area here, you can see that price came in, we saw that hesitation, right, before it broke below, swept below this demand area, came into the other demand region that we have over here before it continues to the upside. But you can see that following this, right, this low itself, it fails to break or fails to take out the previous high. So when it fails to take out a previous high, right, by market structure, right, recall that in an uptrend, right, the low should not be violated and the high should be a target. So in this case, you can see that this high, right, price did not actually form a new high. So what this suggests is that this low itself, right, it's a potential target. Okay, so this for me, it's the support area, right? So let me just remove all these regions. here. Right, so we have a support area here. The prices are currently testing. Right, so price test broke below and then it broke above this region. So prices set on this level, right, and we have 100% extension here. If you go onto the 4 hours time frame, you can see that on the 4 hours right now, where we are, we have this region. So again, structure on the 4 hours, right? So price came in, form a new low, right? Broke above, and then we're seeing that rejection. So this is basically a range that we're in right now. So what this also shows is that if on your lower time frame, you can see that price pushed up, right? So this low itself came into the high, right? But it fails to break above this high, right? If it fails to break above this high, and how do we tell? It's when your supply areas are actually in control, right? So if prices are starting to respect your lower time frame resistance, then we can actually target this low over here as a potential for our take profit target, right? If we're selling. Okay, so this is the range that we're on right now on the 4 hours, right? So we have a high over here, we have a low over here, right? Both of them were not broken. So this is the picture on the 4 hours. Let's go on to the 15 minutes time frame and see what we have. So on the 15 minutes time frame, right? You can see that right now prices are forming again, right? This range. So price came in from this new low. And if you take a look at what we have on the left, you can see that there's some kind of support that's being formed here. So price came in, tested this region here. If you take a look at the most recent move, right? So we have this support region. So again, demand area. It's like the most extreme of this move. So this move over here. So you can see this area, right? So price coming into this region, it swept the previous low. So if you take a look at the most recent structure, right? Price came in, form a new high, and then it broke below this region, right? So on the 15 minutes itself, this is the lane that we have. Right, so right now prices are in a support area, right? So we're seeing a pullback within this leg. So this is the last leg. Right, so again, we're trying to find if there are any resistance zones, right? So the most immediate resistance zones on the 15 minutes would be this area. This region, right? Why this region? Again, looking at how price interacted with the support and resistance area here, right? If I were to draw a horizontal line across, you can see that it divides the chart very nicely. Price coming in to test it as both a support and resistance, right? If I put it in close, you can see it as well here. Okay, so this is the region for me. So what we can do with this, right? Take a retracement of this move, right? So Fibonacci retracement from high to low to see what it gives us. So if you take a retracement of this move, right? Fibonacci retracement of this move here, you have the 78.6. So 78.6 is lying slightly above this region, right? So on this doji here, you can see this zone. Okay, so this is one area for us to watch. This region, right? Okay, and then another thing to check, right? Our extension level, so zigzag patterns, right? So once again, this would be the extension. So trying to project this move, 0.1, 0.2, and 0.3. Take a look at the extension here, right? So the 127.2% lining up with this region as well, right? So this is the area. So this is the region that we are watching, right? So if price comes into this area again, if we're playing any reversal on the smaller time frame, right, it must first be reflected on your 5 minutes, for example, right? If not, we could see more downside. Okay, so I have. Okay, is it looking like head and shoulders at pound dollar on the higher time frame zone? So pound dollar on the higher time frame zone. Let's take a look at it. Right. So which time frame are you looking at, Summit? I don't see any head and shoulders right now. Right. So no, right, no head and shoulders, right? I'd say that like there isn't any head and shoulders here. Okay, so yeah, this is the picture for me right now. Right. So I think we could see a push down from here if we come into this zone, right? So on the 15 minutes right now, if price comes into this region and you're seeing that reversal or confirmation on the smaller time frame, if you go on to the 4 hours, you can see that if price comes into this region, right, and it's starting to respect the supply area, then we can target this as the low, right, for more downside. If not, right, this area, so depending on how price interact with this zone, right, price could continue much higher. What we do see here is that you can see that this high itself, right, price came in, tested the support region, and right now on your 15 minutes time frame, right, we're seeing a pullback into this zone. So this high would be liquidity, right? Essentially, price could push higher, right, sweeping this areas here. Okay, so I hope that that's fine, right? Okay, so we have, right, okay. And then let's take a look at the last one, right, which is on Euro Pound, right? And then following which I believe we have another session that's going on. So we'll have to leave the session for this. Okay, so let's take a look at Euro Pound, right? On the higher time frame, if you take a look at the weekly or if you take a look at the monthly, right? So nothing much, right? We have a resistance and support area here, potential level, right? But seeing how prices are spiking above this region. So again, right, seeing this area, if you put it in close, right, seeing how price react as both a support and resistance. If I put it in close, you can see how price tested this region as both a support and resistance. Okay, so this is the picture on the monthly, right? Currently it's consolidating here. It's currently sitting on the support area that we have here. Okay, and if you're on the daily time frame, you can see again, right? So this is the last leg, and we're seeing that pull back into the leg, right? Price swept the previous low. You can see that swept the previous low, and currently it's the most subsequent move, right? The latest move that we have here, it's forming a downward or this. I mean, it's a bearish move. Okay, so in terms of the 4 hours time frame, right, where's the most immediate resistance that we have? The most immediate resistance is this level. You can see again support and resistance area here. Price testing as a resistance, coming in to test it as a support, right? Rejection of this level before the break below. And we're seeing that bullish push up into this zone, right? You can again take a retracement of this move, trying to find if there are any retracement levels here from high to low. So 61.8 retracement sitting here, right? And then again, extension levels. So extension levels are basically zigzag patterns, right? So in this case, this would be the zigzag pattern, right? We have one here as well, but I don't think it's going to give us any levels. So 0.1, 0.2, and 0.3. So again, right, the key extension levels, you have 100% extension lining up here. So this is the zone on the 4 hours, right? So on the 15 minutes right now, right, there's still no structure being formed. You can see that there's just a strong push up into this area, right? So right now prices are consolidating. So we need to wait for a clearer structure to be formed, right? But this is the resistance area for me on the 4 hours. Okay, so I hope that that answers your question, right? We have some kind of potential descending channel, trend line. Let's see. Yeah, some kind of descending channel from here as well. Okay, so I hope that that answers all your questions, right? Again, thanks for keeping the session interactive, right? I think that we've answered all of the questions here. So that's all that we have for today, right? For tomorrow, we will be having our educational session, right? So do tune in for that as well. So thanks everyone, right? Trade safe, stay safe, and we will catch you guys again tomorrow.